welcome again. She was the first woman from the Kapoor family to take up acting. But after a not-so-successful filmy career, Sanjana Kapoor took up the reins of Prithvi Theatre, started by her grandfather, and transformed it into the most successful theatre companies in India. Theatre personality and director of Prithvi Theatre, Sanjana Kapoor, was one of the panellists at the Hindu Lit for Life festival held in Delhi. It was here that we managed to have a quick word. Do you believe that theatre should be allowed to just be, or should it always have a political or a socio-political message associated with it?
Theatre does not have to always have a message. Neither does a good book or a good story always have to have a moral to it. But it needs to tickle your mind. It needs to perhaps ask some questions. It needs to give you a new perspective. It needs to show you things which maybe you see but you don't always take note of, or perhaps you don't recognize. And I think that's the magic of theatre or any art form.
When a lot of books get translated from fiction into theatre, do you believe that they kind of lose their essence and, and the originality?
You can see literature on stage in wonderful ways. It takes a new form. But it doesn't necessarily have to lose the essence and the magic of what the book did, and it might reach out to a different kind of audience in different ways. And I've experienced that, say for instance with Nasiruddin Shah bringing alive Ismat Chughai's work. I would never be able to pick up a book and read her work in Devanagari. I would read it in translation, and it may lose some essence even there in translation. But now I can hear the similar language, at least her Urdu, on a stage, and yet it's brought alive by extraordinary performances. So it can fail and it can succeed, and that depends on the artistic energy of what goes into it.
Where do you think we stand in terms of regional theatre?
Some books or any artistic form which deals with language can talk in a particular language, can be totally rooted in that area and that region, and yet speak to the world. As with any theatre, we need more support structure. We need the infrastructure to enable theatre to move from surviving to thriving, and that is my greatest problem. That's the greatest problem that we face today.
That must be how India Theatre Forum started.
We need to now really move from struggling constantly to actually energizing each other and strengthening our practice. 10 years down the line, I think we should be able to look back and say Indian theatre has been impacted by the work that the India Theatre Forum has done in really giving us a sense of connectivity and a sense of oneness, and yet our individual traits. It's not going to make this huge, big, bland national theatre.
You did mention that to walk into theatre, when you were starting out, to walk into theatre would be madness as a profession. Now it is still the same, or?
There are more opportunities today. I mean, there are more youngsters in Bombay, for instance, who are able to go home and earn through the internet. So there are many more opportunities to create an income from other ways, which are not necessarily 9 to 6 jobs, but so that's a healthy thing perhaps, but I wish that one could say one was only earning from theatre.
For Sanjana, the fight to revive theatre, the poor cousin of Bollywood, has just begun, and she continues with much conviction down this path less travelled. Sanjana's maternal grandparents had a travelling theatre company called Shakespeareana, and she hopes to one day revive the lost tradition of travelling theatre. Now, the lovers of Western classical music have always mourned the lack of good performances in Delhi. But recently, the Deutsche Philharmonic Merck Orchestra performed in the city and struck a chord with musical enthusiasts. It was a full house at the Surrey Fort Auditorium the day the Deutsche Philharmonic Merck performed. It looked like music lovers from all over the world had gathered together to be a part of that event.
It was really nice. It was really nice, and it was just what we had expected. It was beautiful and mesmerizing, and The symphonies were great, the harmony was great, and it was very nice.
The chief conductor for the evening, Hainsel, raised his baton and soon the tuneful language and the long tradition of classical music flowed through the melodies of Beethoven, Mozart and Brahms. The rendition of Mozart's flute concert in D major was, in one word, spectacular.
It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. I loved the first two pieces in particular, especially the flautist. He was quite amusing and fun as well.
To the audience, the evening was a treat and a celebration, and they responded with enthusiasm and applause, and the musicians were equally jazzed up. A beautiful world-class celebration. It is true what they say about music, expressing the inexpressible. On that rather high note, it's time for me to say goodnight. Have a wonderful week ahead.